All right, a little late. We're gonna start now. Hey Dominic, for this one, I'm gonna turn webcams on. I generally love webcams, but I took some time to set up my OBS just right, and it's not gonna work right. All right, cool. All right, well, hello and welcome, folks. Sorry about the delayed start, but glad to be here with all of you. This is the Power On Show with Charles and Avi, and we have an interesting topic today. Can Power BI change your life at 40, at 20, at 60? First of all, let's say hello. So if you're joining us online, just say hi. Let us know where you are watching us from. And Archana, I see, is here. Shiva Venkata is here. Himanshu Johnny is here. I'm going to wait for others to say hi. Just make sure everything is working. Audio, video, you can hear us. Chaitan says hello. Hello and welcome, my friends. So again, we're going to be talking about can Power BI change your life? And we will break it up into three sections. Well, talk about our new life a little bit. How has our life changed? And then talk about how much Power BI was or was not a factor in there. And lastly, is age a critical factor? And the funny thing is, for both of those things, I feel I can argue either way. And that's why I'm glad I have Charles here, who has gone through, ironically, a pretty similar transformation. And I'm excited to sort it out myself, and hopefully will give you some pointers too. All right, so the hellos are pouring in. Chaitan, Matt Carmine is here. Pro Plus member Corey Ayers says hello from Omaha, Nebraska. Andos is here. Michael from UK. Karan from India. Abdul says hi. Ken says hello. Charmi from India, Chandigarh. That's awesome. Do plan to visit that town someday. Greetings from Cincinnati. Says Kevin. Dark Star is here from UK. Wendy, Ontario, Canada. Montreal, Atafe, Bala is here. Fossum Cat from Minnesota. I haven't been to Apple Valley. I've just been to Minneapolis. And we have Anders from Dubai. Ruchi says hello. Oksana says hello from Brighton, UK. Keita from Yokohama, Japan. Awesome. Good to have you. Johnny says just a smiley. Jamie says hello. Daya hello from India. Abdul says hi from Pakistan. All right, folks. So let's dive into the topic. So again, we are talking about, can Power BI change your life at 40, 60, 20? we'll see. We'll figure it out, right? But let's talk about the new life. Now, I will say that if you look at it from the outside, it does seem like Power BI changed both of our lives at right around 40. I went through the same transformation myself right around 40. Charles, I was surprised. He looked so young. This first time he told me his age, I'm like, what? No, no way. But yeah, he has a similar story. And again, from outside, it seems like, yep, obviously the age was common, and there were other things that seemed relevant. Like, oh yeah, I couldn't have done it when I was younger or older. And Power BI seemed to play a crucial role. But we're going to dive into all of that. But let's talk about the new life. So, Charles, I'm gonna have you help
Yeah.
us out here. So, what's what's going on? I mean, has your life changed? Does it feel different?
Oh, yeah. Immense changes. I have a couple stories. I think one of the things is getting used to the freedom and getting used to being able to make decisions and control what you do with your time.
Yeah.
I remember one time, I think the big turning point was, a year before I started this journey. I, my wife emailed and said that, there's a doctor's appointment for one of the boys you wanted to go to. And I remember feeling like, I feel so guilty, like leaving work to go to my doctor appointment for my kids, right? And
Yeah.
and I think back, I was like, man, was feeling guilty about this, but now, like, I'm just like, oh, I control that time, and I'm gonna just take time and go do this, and just
Yeah.
take off and go do that, right?
Wow.
So just being able to control your time has just been a huge, immense change. And I have some of the slides too. Is there's days now, and I
Yeah.
think you do this, you get outside and hike, right? So we have some,
Yeah.
you've been doing that. And for me, getting outdoors when I want to, like, you look outside the window and you're like, man, it's sunny. And I don't live too far from Lake Nakatawa and Lake Michigan. And I have a small little tiny sailboat, and the other day, every week now, and I post the pictures to our Slack channel, but I'm like, my son's a junior. A couple years, he's going to be gone to college. I want to take him out sailing,
Yeah.
or I have pictures of a home built canoe. So I've been doing that every week. I was just decide it's like it's time for me to get outside, take a break, refresh my brain, and I'm in charge of my choices now. So
Oh, looks like a blip. Shows you your audio just cut out. But folks, I'll definitely echo something that Charles said, which is that the guilt. So now we have the freedom, but it's been harder to shake off the guilt. And of course, those who know that I tried to take a month long vacation in August in planning to take a 3 month vacation next year. And the first thing that I had to deal with was this massive guilt that I'm not doing the right thing. All right, Charles, looks like you're back. I was just, uh, let's get you unmute.
yeah,
All right.
sorry.
So I was echoing what you said, and it was funny that you brought up the guilt as well. And of course, you've heard
Yeah,
my story, and I was echoing that I tried to take a month long vacation, and first massive thing that I deal with was this guilt, and it's like, why should I be guilty? But that's certainly kind of part of the journey. So hey, you mentioned a slideshow. Go ahead, share
oh,
your screen. Yeah.
shall we do that? Okay,
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
right.
Yeah, yeah. We promised them a
Yeah,
sneak peek. Yeah, I got my own slideshow. Although some of the folks who follow me on social have seen some of the photos, but yeah.
all right, let's screen share here. All right, let's go screen two share.
All
All
right, it's
right. Oh,
happening.
we're
It's
gonna
coming
start.
up. Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Well, we'll leave the best part for last. My dog, but so you
Okay,
can see
we'll
the
come back to it. Yeah,
yeah. We're gonna come back to that. So you can see my the
yeah,
sailboat. So what I was
yeah.
talking
Are,
about.
are, are you are you gonna be able to go full screen, man? This is good stuff. You want to see it? I mean,
Let's see. Does that work?
so we're looking at like the PowerPoint view. Okay, it's working. Yep, yep, perfect. So time outdoors. Wow, that looks beautiful.
Yeah. So, just the freedom to get outdoors and enjoy the outdoors.
Yeah,
And, my son, of course, right, during these times, he's been locked indoors too. And I've never seen a smile so big on his face for months, and it just brightened up my day to be able to just say, hey, I'm going to get outside. I'm going to take my son outside. And, a couple of years he'll be in college. And we just had this great time. And I've got a story about this canoe too. So
yeah.
this is on our Nakatawa, the lighthouse that it's called Big Red. So I enjoy, getting on the lake, getting outdoors, and just having the freedom to do that.
Lovely.
This is just part of my journey a couple of years ago was I really sat down and thought about what I wanted to do with life. And one of it was to help people and make an impact. And when COVID started, I wanted to, get people together that had 3D printers and start printing visors for face shields, right? And so we did that, and we had, I think, the total number was we had 440 printers, and I think we got out 60 to 70,000 of these face shields on 3D printers and an injection mold tool. And then what was really cool is my other passion is Power BI.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
created a website. And, you've seen this, but I use my data skills and my passion for helping people and 3D printing to just combine all my passions together and make my own decisions and choose my own adventure. So I had a really fun time. I'm still doing this, by the way. There's two 3D printers outside my room right now printing.
Yeah.
Um,
Awesome. And you
so
get mask orders too, right? Here and there.
Yeah, I started making
Yeah.
masks. My mom actually, so this is funny. She was like, "Oh, I think you guys need a sewing machine." So she's in Montana. She ships us a sewing machine, and she's like, "Maybe your wife will like this." And it showed up on our doorstep, and my wife's like, "I don't want to learn how to sew." So I looked at this machine that
Yeah.
showed up on my doorstep. I was like, "All right, I'll binge watch YouTube and learn
Yeah.
a new skill." I got into sewing, and then I've been sewing these masks for schools, hospitals, whoever needs them, right?
Wow.
So it's part of, when you gain this freedom, you can choose your own adventure and learn new things and just pursue
Yeah.
whatever your interests are and make an impact.
Yeah.
And then on the left there is that was an interesting story where Puerto Rico contacted us through the 3D printer group, and they needed uh, 20,000 clear plastic shields for the face visors.
Mm-hmm.
And we only got 10,000 of them to Puerto Rico, but still, I had to search for a whole big reel of clear plastic. And I
Yeah.
found a guy in New York that had them. So then we found this, contacted a company called Hayworth, and they trucked a batch to Holland and another batch of 5,000 to Dripping Springs, Texas, to
Mm-hmm.
people who had laser cutters, in these two locations, and they cut them down. And then Hayworth and Expeditors
Wow.
chartered some flights to take them down to Puerto Rico, right? So, sometimes life, you just ask people and ask for help. And if you have a mission, sometimes things just come together. And that was an amazing project. That was a lot of fun. So,
Boy,
oh,
yeah, there's so much there.
yeah.
Yeah, the
You,
mission and stuff. Right? I mean, I'm thinking about Simon Sinek, right? I mean, people don't work with you, buy from you, hire you as an employee, whatever, right? Because ultimately they do that. We, bec- the best way to go about it, right, is if they believe what we believe, right? But you have to go out there and talk about it. Like, what do I believe in? Awesome, man.
yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, and then so this one I know Matthew, if he was watching, he has
Yeah.
commented before that he likes this. So my next passion is I found pellet smoker, but somebody in your program, Judy Grimes,
Yeah.
introduced me
Thanks,
to
Judy.
pellet smokers. I bought one, and then I post pictures of the stuff I'm smoking in the smoker. So these are some ribs I made, and I put chicken and all kinds of stuff. So. And I know Matthew Carmen likes these pictures. He said so. I keep posting them to the group.
Yeah, that's great.
Another one of my hobbies. I had never smoked ribs before in my life. I bought one of these smokers and just binge watched YouTube and took my own adventure and started cooking
Yeah.
as a new hobby. Right.
Yeah.
Um,
Terrific.
so that was a lot
Oh,
of
there we
fun.
go.
And
This
then
we saw in the first shot, the kayak. So tell us more.
yeah. So this kayak I made about 10 years ago. This canoe. It's a 14-foot canoe that weighs 22 pounds.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
It
Canoe.
comes in an envelope about this big. It's paper plans.
Mm-hmm.
It comes with some epoxy glue, some Kevlar. You can see the Kevlar string, and the fabric on the outside is called Dacron. And
Wow.
the whole boat, you have to build it like from the plans, right? So I had never done any woodworking. I never used a planer, a table saw, and I had to just like binge watch YouTube videos to learn all these skills and buy these new
Yeah.
tools.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
But you know, yeah, man. I mean, wow. I'm getting so much out of this because I'm flashing back to all the things my coaches would say, and one of the things my coach would say is, "You are in one thing as you are in another." All right. Now think about that. So he was talking to us entrepreneurs trying to make money, asking people to give us money, and they said, "How are you when you're giving other people money?" Right? I
uh,
mean, do you try to give them, like, do you wait till like the last minute, so to example sign up for a course or something? Do you like debate forever? I mean, if you're like that, that's what you're gonna attract, right? But if you change in one place, we're the same person, and I think that's the other thing that I'm seeing in your story, kind of what I've experienced in mine as well, is that these circles of life, right? I mean, the social aspect, family, work, they're not different. Right? We're not a different person. We are the same person. So again, if one changes, everything kind of changes together. You can't just change one part, fix one part, improve one part, and we say, oh well, not right. I mean, and so it's all correlated. So I don't know. I mean, to me, it's feeling like you change your life in one place and it kind of went all around or kind of happened together. So this is amazing, right? I mean, you did something new which you didn't think it was possible. And then once you had done that in that professional space, boy, you did that in the whole social and kind of volunteering space with your 3D printing and all that. You had to figure all of that out, right? And the whole boat building and all that stuff. It's like, yep, I'm going to go on YouTube because you'd already done that in kind of the Power BI realm. So um, man, I'm loving that part of the story. Cool, cool. What's
I think
next?
you're right, Avi, in that, and this leads back. I was thinking this morning, it's like, what was the breaking point? When did I break through the ceiling and realize there's so many things that are possible that I could just try and do great things and make an impact in the world and help so many people. And I think what the turning point was about 5 years ago, I decided to run a marathon. And
Wow.
it took a lot of training and a lot of, and some people are like, why would you ever do that? And I think I hear
Yeah.
these stories from people that
Whew.
skydive too. It's like, but once you go through all your fears and you do it and you do all the training and go through all the pain,
Yeah.
it's an accomplishment that you think back. It's like, wow, there's a lot of things that are possible if you just
Yeah.
put your mind to it and
Man,
it's painful. Yeah.
yeah, that is really funny because I'm thinking back to my life and I feel the moment for me was when I got laid off in the financial bust in 2008. I was working in Washington Mutual Bank. And man, that was
Yeah.
such a hard experience. And my daughter was about to be born at the same time. I was at my wits' end. It felt like the end of the world.
Yeah.
But I did it, right? And I've heard your marathon story. Like, I mean, it was hard. You didn't think you could finish. But so, yeah, I thought it was the end of the world for me, but I pulled through. And and I think that was crucial. I think if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have had the courage. I wouldn't have gone on this journey to find myself. Because when I lost my job, I'm like, who am I? Who the f am I? Right? Because we don't lose our jobs, we lose our identity too. Because I think that's the mistake that we make. We make create our identity based on what we're doing. We're not what we do, right? We're far bigger than that. But that's what I had done. But that forced me to kind of question my identity, ask those bigger questions. And that led me to giving, kind of when the time came for Power BI and all that, I was ready.
Yeah.
Wow. So for you, it was a marathon, huh? Man.
Yeah.
So guys, you got to do one of those things: run a marathon or get laid off, whichever you
Yeah.
think is easier.
Both are
Take your
very
pick.
good.
Hey, I would love to hear in the comments which one would you guys pick if you were forced to. To change your life,
It's
run a marathon, get laid off. All right.
I think, Avi, and this will lead to the question of what age and when is the right time for you. And I
Yeah.
think we go through those moments of self-discovery and identity. Um, we look at our identity, who we want to be, what we want to do in life. And I think when
Yeah.
all of those come together and you think back through your life about these experiences and events,
Yeah.
and you finally come to this conclusion, and when does that happen? I think it happens to people at different times. But I was thinking to something, I grew up, my dad moved around a lot. And when I was younger, right, we spent time all over the world in Thailand, in Indonesia, in the Netherlands,
Yeah.
in Louisiana. And I remember back then it was so hard for me because every time when I moved, I had to get rid of, not get rid of, but I lost my friends and I had to reinvent myself
Yeah.
and find new friends, right? And I think that all of that experience, even though it
Yeah.
was hard
Yeah.
back when I was younger, I think now I look back at it and I'm like, it's built me to who I am today. It's enabled me to say, you know what? It's possible to make a new identity because I've done it six
Wow.
times before in the past.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to invent a new me and, a
Yeah.
new adventure, a new identity and go forward,
Wow.
right?
Wow. That's
So,
awesome, man. All right, let's keep going
yeah.
here.
All right. All right.
But folks,
Wow.
we're
Yeah.
gonna come back to the age question and the Power BI question. Saeed, I hear you, mate. That's exactly what we were talking about next. Is it Power BI? Is it being 40? Or is it something else? All right, what do you got next
That's a
here?
good point from Saeed too. So the Model A on the right, that was my great uncle's, and then it got passed on to my grandmother, and then my dad. It was sitting and not run in a garage, that garage behind the picture, for 7 years, I think. Nobody
Mm.
had ever run it. So my dad's like, hey, you and me, let's work on this together, the father son thing, right? So it was a year ago we started working on this. And funny story is, we were trying to turn it on, and we put some gas in the gas tank, and my wife was inside, looking at it, and
Yeah.
I'm cranking. I turn the valve on, press on the gas, and it's cranking and it's trying to go. And my wife goes, Charlie, is gas supposed to be spewing out of this carburetor thing? And I was like, no. And I was like, is it just like dripping? She's like, no, it's like it's shooting out. Like, I was like, oh yeah, turn everything off.
Yeah.
So what we found is the carburetor had been so old, it had a paper gasket, and it
Yeah.
had dried and cracked, and a big hole had developed, and there was gasoline just shooting out. So I had to
Yeah.
rebuild the whole carburetor.
Wow.
So, but just
Man,
the
yeah,
freedom
yeah.
to work on a project with your parents. Here's another. So I learned Rubik's cubes.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was sick. I had the flu. I think I was sitting on my couch. This was like 5, 6 years ago, and
Uh-huh.
I was like, "What am I going to do to sitting on the couch?" So I saw my son speed solving Rubik's cubes, so I just picked it up and started learning it, watching YouTube videos, and now I can solve these cubes in about a minute, like any
Wow.
scramble. Right? My son, who's in this picture, kind of in the center in the gray shirt, he can solve them. I think his average was 12 seconds. So kids are solving in
You got some
12
catching
seconds.
up to do.
Oh my God, yeah. These kids are amazing. So another dad and I were like, let's do a club and let's do an official tournament for cubing.
Wow.
So we
Awesome.
set this up and we held this in our town, and I think 300 people came from Wisconsin,
Yeah.
from Minnesota, from Indiana, came to Michigan, all in Michigan, and
When was
participated in it.
this?
This was about a year ago, last a summer ago. Yeah.
Exciting.
So
Exciting.
yeah. So once again, once you break through that ceiling and you realize what's possible, you just keep like it's like once
Yeah, I
you
mean that's what I'm seeing in your story is that it reflects in all aspects of your life. And guys, I mean, of course, I've talked about kind of work life thing before, and I was under the same impression. I kept them in two separate boxes, but just leaving my job in Microsoft just forced me to come face to face with it. And I'll just ask you a simple question. That's what I asked myself. Is like when I looked back, uh, when things were going good at work, then you know, like I remember when I discovered Power BI and I would be working late because I was just, doing Power BI stuff kind of on my own time, but I would get home by 8 p.m. But I would have so much energy and I would really kind of be there for my kids. And as I walked in the door, I was full of energy. I wanted to kind of greet them, talk to them, everything. And then there was a time when I was laid off from my job or about to be laid off, and there was no work there, so I would come home at 3, but I would just wedge out in front of the TV, right? So, yeah, these are correlated, and yeah, it's not one thing. So, cool. We're on to the dog now.
oh yeah, yeah. Dog. So this is Lexi, my dog, and like your dog, she was a rescue, and she was had separation anxiety, and she would shake and eat out of cages and stuff. So we brought her in. We've had her 3 years now, and we take her on walks all the time. And you can notice the pillows, the with the patterns.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Those I the mask making. I learned how to use a sewing machine, and I taught the kids, and the kids sewed those pillows for the
Oh,
dog.
great,
So
great. Love it.
all this stuff just interweaves together, and that's kind of
I
all these
know.
experiences I've had are just
Love
weaving
that.
together finally at the age of 40. I've just brought them all together, and you can see them just kind of coming
Yeah.
together.
So love that. And talking about kids, there was a time when I felt like I couldn't. So, you know, the, I loved my job in Microsoft. I loved the people, and I was doing great. I was doing phenomenal. I was like the Power BI superstar, right? Um, but I had this dream in my heart. I felt this tug. For the first time in my life, I never felt that way. I never felt pulled by a mission. Frankly, it had always been the grind, the usual stuff. Go to college, study hard, oh, get a job, oh, you got a job, now get a promotion, work, 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 da da da, all of that sort of stuff. That's all it was. Um, but when it came to that decision of, man, I felt this tug in my heart, but I kept telling myself that I cannot leave my job because of my kids. Right? I owed them a stable upbringing, da da da. Their fees need to be paid, dance classes, uh, you know, all of that stuff. So, but in the end, I realized that that is exactly why I need to leave my job. I need to leave the job to pursue my dreams because, man, kids don't, they don't, frankly, they don't listen to you. I mean, if you have kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But, man, they watch you, man. They see you. Man, live the life that you want them to live, right? I mean, it's we think that I'm gonna sacrifice my dreams so that my kids can prosper. That's just BS. I mean, the lesson it's implied. The lesson you're teaching them that, oh, this is what you're supposed to do. But what if we lived our biggest, wildest dream and chased after them with all our passion? Man, if they saw that, wow. So of course, yeah, man. I mean, I love it. I mean, you talk about your kids kind of getting involved. So guys, I apologize. I gotta, so my slideshow is gonna pale in comparison with this, but I'm gonna try my best. So let's go here and yeah. Oh, this is it. Yeah, I think. So all I have are hiking photos, but I do have a story. So I'll just run through this quick and talk about my hiking story. So this is at Mason Lake. This was Mount Eleanor. I This was my first sunrise hike, and it was phenomenal. It was pretty awesome. So this is in the Olympic National Park. This was at Hidden Lake. This is perhaps the best. Oh shoot! Sorry guys, I need to switch back to the scene. So let's. I'm gonna flip through some of these photos here. So this is the first one, Mason Lake. This is Mount Eleanor, and this one is Hidden Lake, and
Wow.
this is the prettiest hike I've ever been on. And this place was so phenomenal. Uh, it, yeah, it was just breathtaking, and it makes it all the more valuable because it's kind of hard to get to. So when you do get there, you're like, whoa. I mean, you feel like God has chosen you to witness this beauty or something, right? I mean, you're one of the chosen ones. um and yeah, and those who follow me on LinkedIn, they know my confession. My legs were shaking, for this photo, because well, it's a safe spot, but it's more of a kind of a psychological thing. This is the same place, Hidden Lake. Again, just gorgeous. I sometimes try to throw on my Barbie shirt, not always. This is the same spot, Hidden Lake. This was a hike with family, so that's actually my son in the shot, and this was sunset at Fremont Lookout in Mount Rainier National Park. Colchic Lake. I'll go through some of these quick. Mount Defiance, Mount Defiance, Mount Defiance. Um, this one is Lake Serene. This is really close to Hidden Lake. I mean, this is also, until I had gone to Hidden Lake, this was my number one spot. This spot again just felt magical. This lake at the foot of these towering mountains with waterfalls streaming in from everywhere. A side story: I took an accidental tumble in the lake, and I mean, I was safe, but it was definitely surprising. This is Mount Si. This is kind of a local one. We love going paddleboarding, and you see this big paddleboard, and actually, my daughter and her friends all clamber on, and we love paddleboarding because they can jump off and then jump back on. So in this shot, they had like jumped off, but the dogs were still there. And that's it. So, but let me talk about a little bit about the hiking story. This was at the beginning of last year, and where I yeah, started hiking, and at the end of last year, I had this crazy thought in my head to climb 100,000 feet in elevation gain. And frankly, I didn't think it was possible, but the number just got stuck in my head. I didn't tell anybody. And at the beginning of the year, of course, there was COVID and all this craziness going on, and for a while trails were shut down. But kind of made slow progress through January, through March and April, and I felt like maybe there's a shot. And then I started telling others. Of course, I started with telling my kids, and then I think I shared in some forums, maybe Talk Power BI. Last I checked, I had hiked 66,000 feet, and of course now I'm like, yeah, there's no way I'm not gonna meet that goal. I'm definitely gonna meet the 100,000 goal. And one thing that I did was I combined it with somebody else, and that's helped me. I mean, frankly, in my business as well. Like when I focus on myself, it's hard, right? When I think of like, oh, I gotta earn money and all this stuff. There's a lot of anxiety. But if I just turn it around and say, hey, how can I help best serve my students? It just makes everything easier. So this 100,000 feet goal, I made it about a charity that I believe in, Operation Smile. I had my tooth knocked off in a skiing accident. One front tooth is fake. And man, I was just 2 or 3 days without my smile, and it was just hard. And frankly, my confidence kind of went from 10 to like two or something. You feel horrible. I mean, so Operation Smile helps kids with cleft lip, helps with their surgery. So I made a goal that for every 100 feet, I'm going to donate $1. So at the end of the year, I would donate $1,000 to Operation Smile. And that has been powerful. But again, guys, I mean, once you break through something, it just shifts things in other aspects as well. And I was thinking about it, man, how many times do people experience that feeling where they feel like they can't go on, but they do, right? I mean, so Charles, so you've run the marathon, you know what I'm talking, right? I mean, that feeling when you're like, oh my God, I just can't go on, but you do. And then you feel awesome, right? Then you feel, man, I can do anything in the world. And I feel like I routinely experience this feeling almost every week when I go to hike, right? When I'm like trudging up and I'm like, oh my God, this like sucks big time. Why the heck am I doing this? But then I do it. And then I'm sitting on the top and I'm like, boy, I can do anything in the world, right? So, and of course, the month long failed vacation, which was failure in a way. Those who follow my second channel, Power On Now, know the whole story. But I think some good things came out of that too. So, one big shift was that seeing this 100,000 feet goal in a big, big way. And guys, so Marianne and I talk about this. Marianne, everybody who's sent us an email knows Marianne. She pretty much runs all of her programs. So we talk about this idea of like super you. And I said, I see glimpses of it. You don't see it in full kind of future, full glory. And I see glimpses of it. And the thing is that it excites me, but it also at the same time it scares the heck out of me. So guys, I'm just I feel like this is like a safe group, so I can share this because this does scare the heck out of me, right? And all those doubts and stuff come in. It's like, who the heck am I to be doing this, right? I mean, who gives you the right? Who do you think you are? You bloody Oprah? So what I'm talking about is so my vision in August just went boom, right? So right now it was like climb 100,000 feet, donate $1,000, right? My goal for this, so my big vision really is to see 100,000 feet as like the charity or the nonprofit arm of our organization doing good. And it is gonna help charities that we feel kind of need the help, but it's also going to institute Learn Power BI scholarship and mentorship for those people who are in need and to definitely serve the communities which are underserved. Right now, obviously, there's been so much discussion in the media about like, right? I mean, why isn't there a balance in the world, right? I mean, so bring balance to that, at least in our corner, Power BI. So if there are minorities which are not proportionally represented in the community, right? I mean, in a conference, why were there only two female speakers? I mean, look at the world's population. It's about 50-50 male and female. Uh, right? So yeah, I mean, we want to address that, do something about it. So anyway, right, so I see this as a nonprofit arm, and the numbers playing in my head. And again, I'm only sharing it with us guys, hanging out live. I know you're my favorite peeps. Is that next year I want to scale it from 1,000 to 10,000, and then by 2025 I want to scale it to 100,000. Now, frankly, I don't even know what that number means. Maybe the number means that I donated. Well, I'm going to donate $1,000 this year. I donate $10,000 next year, and then by 2025 I donate $100,000 again to charity and Learn Power BI scholarship and mentorship. Or we do it together, right? I mean, I ask you guys for your support, or uh, we do it in some sort of a matching fashion where you donate, you help me with the cause, and every dollar you donate, I contribute, and together we reach the 100,000 goal. I have no idea. But again, I've put that thought out there, and who knows what's going to happen. So anyway, that's a glimpse into a little bit, or at least one side of my story. It wasn't as comprehensive as Charles. Charles, thanks for the tour there. But
Yeah.
let's switch gear here, and talk about uh, the next two topics, which are, so you got a sneak peek into our life, what's going on here. Oh, by the way, before we go forward, folks, so the Learn Power BI course enrollment is opening on Friday, October 5th, and on the same day, the the scholarship is gonna open as well. But if you want to get a head start, get your name in the pool, throw it in the bowl, then go to learnpowerbi.com/scholarship. Now, I can't promise that the page is 100% ready. If it's not working, we apologize. Check back in again. We will definitely be sending emails out for that as well. But that's coming, and that's, again, anybody who knows me, I love kind of the minimum viable product, the beta. So this is going to be the kickstart of that vision, right? So we're gonna get a small group together, and I'll be mentoring this group personally, 1-on-1. Well, not 1-on-1, maybe if it's a small group, but I'll be doing that anyway. So let's move on and answer the big questions, right? I mean, so how much was Power BI a factor in there? How much was age a factor? And frankly, I'm not sure if we'll be able to keep it separate. Maybe we'll just combine those two together. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, those are the big questions, and you've already heard a little bit of kind of what we feel about this. So Charles, I'm gonna hand back to you again. And again, if we start going into age, fine, we'll go into age. But let's start off on the Power BI stuff. So Power BI was, yeah. What's your take? I mean, how I don't know. I mean, is Power BI responsible? Is the catalyst? It started it all? How do you see Power BI?
Yeah. So I'll walk through my story. My entrepreneurship story. So I've always wanted to start a business. My mother opened 3 or 4 restaurants, and restaurant is a very hard business. And I got to watch her. There's a lot of investment. You got to build out the kitchen. There's a lot of money. And you work late nights after you close, you clean up, and so when I told them about you know starting this business, they thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
My mom and my dad, they're like, what are you doing? This is, you're going to put a lot of money in. I was like, well, Power BI is different because a lot of it's in your brain, in your head, on how you data model, how you solve that problem, and you just kind of need a laptop, and you
Yeah.
can help people add a lot of value too, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so I took it from that aspect, and helped convince me and my wife and a lot of people, because there wasn't a lot of upfront investment. And I think, thinking back about 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago, I had wanted to start a sign printing shop. And I told my
Mm-hmm.
wife I wanted to do this. And she's like, well, you're going to have to start a franchise because starting from scratch is too much risk. So I looked into a franchise, and I looked into, and a lot of these franchises require initial payment. You got to make sure you have enough assets, go through a loan process maybe. So I was ready to go, right? I was ready to
Wow.
sign on the line. start my printing company, buy some printer, large printers for signs and stuff. And a job came through, a job offer, get back into the corporate world. And we both were like, whew, this was a long process just to start this business, even though it's a franchise. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, and here's a corporate job again. So I actually
Yeah.
took a corporate job and 7 years ago went back into the corporate world. Um, but then fast forward, in the back of my mind, I always wanted to start a business. And actually, before I got into the Power BI side of things, I live in Michigan, right on the Great Lakes. And I was like, I'm just going to invent something from scratch. So my driveway is kind of sloped and the snow gets on there. And on the winter, we slide down
Yeah.
and plows can't really plow that driveway. So I was like, I'm going to invent a little robot and it's going to go up and down, kind of like a Roomba or, those lawnmowers you
Yeah.
see now, the
Uh-huh.
robot. And it's just going to sweep and clean my driveway off. Right. And I was brainstorming this idea and I was like, man, this is starting from scratch. This is a lot of work. And then I thought about it. I was like, what am I passionate about? And it's like, I love building models in Excel. I love seeing data patterns. I had done this at my job, the previous job, right? And I've done it before, writing VBA macros for Delphi Automotive to automate stuff, and it provided a lot of value. And then I started looking into it. It's like, and then not a lot of people really are in Power BI yet. There's still a lot of market growth, I think. So, and then I looked at investment costs and I was like, there's not a lot of cost in here, for me to invest in. And so that's, it just was the perfect match of my skills, my experience. And, I had been evaluating other things and I was like, there's too much risk in the other things. This is
Yeah.
the right one for me to take that jump. So I think Power BI had all the right factors in it to
Wow.
enable me to, and I saw the light. I was like, this is really powerful. It adds a lot of value to people. So I'm going to make the jump.
Man, love it. It is shocking, right? And so, by the way, I'm part of this entrepreneurs group. Have been really lucky to be a part of that. Hey, Chris. Sorry, mate. I have my OBS setup going on here, so we're gonna turn off the other videos. Yeah. So, uh, so in that entrepreneur group, of course, everybody's there from different backgrounds and stuff, and usually the tone is kind of pretty positive, and everybody is kind of upbeat, and yeah, they talk about accountability and blah blah, all of that stuff, the good stuff. I shouldn't say blah blah. So right, but once in a while, I mean, it's a safe group, so people when they're down and out, they would share something. Oh, this is hard and all that stuff. And sometimes, not always, there's this guy who's Chocolate Johnny, and he's amazing. So look him up. He's based out of Australia, and he runs a chocolate shop, like a brick and mortar chocolate shop. And I think, yeah, that's runs in the family. He got it from his dad. He has stories of waking up at 4 as a kid to stir the whatever, the peanut butter brittle or something, right? Um, but now he's also a social celebrity, and I think he got big on Periscope. Anyway, that's a different story. But he does run that brick and mortar, and sometimes he steps in and he says, "Guys, you have no idea." Right? I mean, you think things are hard for you? Yeah, man. Join me for a day, right? So yeah. So I think, and you, of course, you explored some of those paths, and I know I never even considered that. Frankly, I didn't even consider this, right? So I call myself the accidental entrepreneur, but still, yeah. I mean, if this was hard enough for me, then the other stuff would have been impossible. So I think, yeah, in that way, it just feels like we're at such a great time and age.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, this opportunity, and it can't be any easier. So, but let's go beyond Power BI. So certainly that was a huge force, and in my life it was too. For one, it was the first thing where I felt this passion, and I couldn't explain it. I had never felt this before. Again, I talked about this earlier in the call, and where I just gone, kind of go through the grind, and it's one of those things where you feel like your life is at 50%, but then you don't know how to kind of amp it up. You've tried and it's never really worked. So you shrug your shoulders and say, you know what, maybe this is as good as it gets. Maybe this is what's supposed to be, right? So yeah, just go through this and retire and then be happy. Now, of course, it doesn't quite work out that way, but when I discovered Power BI, it felt like a fire was burning inside of me. Right? I mean, and it was a bit of craziness to leave my job, and of course, in the circumstances that I left, um, I left cold turkey without any plan, zero plan, and of course, that's the reason I struggled big time too. And I that was foolish in hindsight, but in a way, this also, well, you know what they say, kind of burn the boats, right? So I burned the boats. I'm like, okay, I'm doing this, and so forth. So Power BI in that way was critical for me. But let's go beyond Power BI. So, folks, on this series, we talked about kind of for new life. Right now, we're talking about how much Power BI was a factor, and I think we're ready to go to part 2A, which is the kind of the next step, like what's beyond Power BI, and then we'll come back and talk about age. So Charles, sometimes I think about like the classic thing that people say that you got to work hard to succeed, work hard to succeed. And I'm like, if that was true, then everybody who worked hard would be successful. Clearly, that's not the case. So
Yeah.
it's beyond that. So yeah, so if Power BI was it, then well, everybody who has kind of brushed against Power BI, right? I mean, the Power BI's Midas touch, they would be doing phenomenal, living phenomenal lives. But that's not the case.
Yeah.
So what else happened, or what else did you do? What else is there?
Well, it's like you said, it's a phenomenal time. And I think all of us want to make an impact and make a difference in the world. And I think that's what I discovered in Power BI is, I was scared of sales. I don't want to do sales. I hate going to the
Yeah,
car dealership and just feeling like, somebody is just pushing on some, trying to mentally persuade me to buy this something that I don't need. But with Power BI, what I discovered was I could go around and tell people what I could do to help them. And it wasn't sales anymore. And people were excited. They were like,
yeah,
Charles, come help me, and when you get that kind of feeling and that kind of help, when you feel that helpful, you're
yeah,
like, this is so worthwhile. I just want to do this
yeah.
all the time because people need my help, and
Mm-hmm.
it just felt like you were, I think all humans have this. Like, how do I make an impact in the world? What is
Oh
my
God, yeah. Trust me.
contribution?
Yeah.
And I think you were the one that one of the early videos I watched from you said everybody's got data. Everybody has data. We're in the data age of collecting so much data. It's like this market is huge. You can help so many people. And I think I discovered that my passion is helping people. I think you told me it's like if I couldn't help people, I would just, you know,
Yep.
go
Yep.
crazy. So with Power BI, I can help oodles of people. And I was doing this within a company, and I was like, I need to go out and help the world with more people. So that
Yeah.
just drove me to,
Yeah.
and then I discovered video. You helped me discover with one of these shows. I was
Wow.
like, wow, coupled with video and this new Power BI skill I have, I can go on video and LinkedIn and spread this, new value add to the world and
Yeah.
make it.
Yeah. Man, that's
So,
awesome. So, phew, I'm glad you stopped because there's such good stuff there. I wanted to keep it in my head. So, folks, I'm going to recap for myself, right? If anything else, right? So, the first thing Charles talked about was this sales thing, right? Selling and all that, right? And oh God, what was the second thing? Gosh, what was the second big thing before video? You talked about helping others. Yeah, helping
helping
others,
others make an
and then
impact.
video, right?
Yeah.
So let's break it up, right? So the first one, and of course I went through the same journey, right? So I think if you're going to succeed, and you've heard me talk about this before, folks, on this channel, that I don't think it's about employee or consultant, right? I mean, there's so much discussion. We spur some of that discussion. So hey, guilty as charged, right? So employee, consultant, employee versus consultant, and hey, we're just trying to kind of get you riled up a little bit, right? We know that pushes a lot of buttons, but there was a time in my Microsoft. So I was really good in my studies, and then I kind of didn't go anywhere in my career. I don't often say good things about our educational institutions, but that's for another day. But so my career was kind of going nowhere, and I was so at Microsoft. They had this frankly, that's the only place I heard these terms, but maybe they are used in other places as well. They had this idea of IC, individual contributor, versus manager, right? So IC manager, IC manager, IC manager. And the world was divided like that. And of course, in prior companies too, right? And all my life, it felt like the progression path was that, oh, you have to be a manager, you have to be a manager, you have to be a manager. And I kept struggling with that though. I was like, oh, do I have what it takes to be a manager? Am I going to be a good manager? Am I going to suck at it? Maybe I'm not cut out for it. Maybe I don't want it. Maybe it's going to be too stressful. I've heard a lot of bad stories. Maybe this is good. I'm just going to be okay here as an individual contributor. So I went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then I talked to one of my mentors, Mrityunjay, and he said something so beautiful. He said, Avi, um, it's not that different. What you need to do to succeed as an individual contributor, you do a lot of the same things as a manager. And he was in a very senior IC role, and he said that, hey, right, so he talked about kind of working with people and all that, and he said, in a way, my job is tougher because they're not reporting to me. I can't command them. I have to make them believe what I believe, right? So, all right, so guys, side story there, but what I'm trying to come back to is that employee and consultant is not that different. If you want to succeed, you're going to have to get over this thing of fear of selling and selling is bad, all that mentality, because guess what? We are selling all the time, right? I mean, you're selling yourself in a job interview. Guess what? You're often selling your idea, your point of view, your perspective in company meetings, right? So you're doing that as an employee and you will do that as a consultant. And of course, to move on to Charles' second point was that to make it about them, not you. And I feel that help me in a huge way, and that's gonna help you, everybody, in a big way. And again, employee or consultant doesn't matter. Make it about them. How can I serve others? And that also, by the way, is the best way to sell. When you show up to serve, believe me, you are the best salesman in the or salesperson in the room. And the third part was video, which, yeah, I mean, of course, YouTube, big presence. Um, Video, all I'll say is that I think video itself, and I think Charles and I have talked about this, that video is not the key to success. You can do video all your life and not succeed. But here's what happened with me when I started doing video, and I would suspect the same thing happened to Charles as well. What I felt was that video is such an authentic medium, right? I mean, and of course the kind of things like we do, like live and all that stuff. You cannot put a bloody fake face on and a mask on, which I had done for 15 plus years in corporate America. I showed up at work and I was the work hobby. Oh, button down. It's like, yep, I got everything under control. You cannot, man, you guys have seen me around. I've ended up crying on this show and all that stuff, and so much has happened. I've shared so much of stuff, right? You cannot put a mask on and go out there. So guess what? You can do video all your life and not get anywhere if you're not willing to get into your own authentic awesomeness. You gotta, and it's gonna happen over time, but you gotta step into it, and you will realize that the more you can just be yourself, just relax, and that we all have that fear of judgment, but again, put that away, guys. Put that away. Put it on a shelf for a bit, and record the video or whatever, go live. And so that is the real power of video. Don't forget to be authentic. Cool. So hey, we're at the top of the hour here. Hey Charles, do you got a hard stop at 10? Can you go a little bit longer?
I could go a little bit.
Okay, got it. So we'll try to
fast.
Yeah, we'll try to wrap it up, folks. And folks who are on the phone. Sorry, this time I'm trying out a new setup, which is kind of weird. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna hang up on YouTube and just hang out with you guys. And of course, Charles and I can chit chat as well. So we can do our mini sessions, and we can have questions from you guys. We can be more focused on you. So let's bring it home and talk about the last factor. So age. So I mean, and again, I can argue both ways. And I heard pieces of that in your story too. That somehow being 40, like now was the right time for you
Yeah.
because of the set of experiences you'd gone through. Do you think this would have been possible for you when you were younger? Or, well, frankly, for me, trying to imagine when I'm older, like I don't have any context, right? I mean, I haven't been older, so I mean, it's hard. But is so yeah for you personally, and then we'll see like how does it apply generally to everybody. But do you think this kind of transformation was possible for you when you were younger?
I think mentally, mindset, it would have been harder.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Why
I
is
know
that?
I thought about it for a long time, but I'm not
Yeah,
sure I was quite ready for it when I was
yeah.
younger. I think
But
it
why
had,
why is that? Which part of you was stumbling, was stuck, had this friction?
um, you know, in the corporate world, I was always in situations. I think a lot of these little micro situations, like I would
Mm-hmm.
see a boss treat somebody a certain way, and I would take notes like, oh, I don't know when to do that. And I took a journal. I was always looking for patterns and data. I was like, how do
Yeah.
I spend my day? 8 hours. And I would look at this journal and be like, man, I don't spend that much of these 8 hours doing super productive work. And I would look around the office and I would be like, nobody else is either. And I was like,
Yeah.
there's so much waste. I think this is why I love data, is
Yeah.
because you see the patterns in the waste, right? You're like,
Yeah.
this is such a wasteful situation right here. I
Yeah.
want to make an impact because everybody just has 8 hours,
Yeah.
12 hours in a day to really do something. And I was like, I
Yeah.
want to do more with these 8 hours. So I
Well,
think,
well, but wait, yeah.
yeah,
So you said this would have been harder. That's maybe
yeah.
not impossible. Never impossible, right? It would have been harder when you were younger. But why is that? What was not there
I
when
think
you were
this
younger?
realization, all this stuff I was studying in the corporate world and seeing the patterns and
Yeah.
seeing how to do things better. And I think if I didn't go through that, you know, seeing the different companies and different experiences, I
Yeah.
think I tried to by jumping companies, right? I was like, I
Yeah.
want to my identity. So I would go, I tried three different companies, I think, three or
Yeah.
four. I would jump companies. It's like, maybe this will be different. And like the grass is
Yeah.
greener. I'll go over here. Like, man, it's not different. I'll jump over here. Still not different. So then finally, after looking at all of this, I was like, it's time. I'm going to go create my own little pasture and grow my
Yeah.
own plants and create my own company from scratch. So I think it's just the culmination of all that experience and seeing the patterns for
Yeah.
many years. And I think if I was younger, I wouldn't have known all this, right? Seen
Yeah.
all those.
Yeah, I got it. So, I'm trying to look up something that I found in the Inc. magazine, and it did a survey on. Let's see if I can do that. Anyway, so it did talk about that a lot of these companies were started by people around this age. I think 34 to 45 or something. And they did talk about that at that point, well, if you've, lived a reasonable life, you're sitting at a tipping point of experiences,
Hmm.
both professionally and at a personal level. And I think you and I both have gone through that.
I think I also realized I didn't want any regrets. And I was like, man, I'm
Oh,
getting to a
God.
point. If I don't start
I
soon,
know. Yeah.
will I give up this opportunity to start something? And so
Yeah.
what I had to reconcile is like also, talking to my wife, is like, I can always do this. And with the experience I built up, I can jump back into the workforce. So it was all this experience was like a parachute too. I could return and
Yeah,
that
that's
gave me,
true.
yeah. But I didn't want to regret, I was like, I'm 40. If I wait
Yeah.
too long, will I regret this and not have that opportunity? So I was like, I'm not going to regret this. I'm going to take it now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Um, yeah. So of course, for me, the big change around when I turned 40 was I came across this guy, Nas Daily. He's a pretty huge celebrity on Facebook, and his story is that I don't know. I think he was like 23 or something. He was he was young, and he was working as some hotshot, high paid consultant or bigwig at a New York company, and yeah, earning good money. But then he did the math of what percentage of his life was over, and he didn't like the answer because he realized that, man, whatever X percentage of my life is over, and what I'm doing now is trading my time for money. And not just that, I'm trading the best years of my life. That's a shitty trade. I don't want that. And yeah, I'm going to live my life my own way. So obviously, I mean, we're talking about doing it at 40, but he did it earlier. But so I heard this story, and I did the math of my own. I looked up the US male life expectancy, and dang it, it was, when I checked it, it was 80. So I'm like, shit, I mean, my 50%, man, that was a sobering number and a sobering thought. So that put a lot of things in motion for me, exactly along the lines of what you're talking about. I felt like, man, I mean, if I don't do it now, I would not be able to do it. Now, I will generally say that, of course, I struggle with a lot of blocks in my head as well, and uh, like the saboteur in my mind, it is usually the hyper rational kind. So he comes out back with very logical explanations. By the way, folks, the concept that I'm talking about, saboteur, if you're interested in that, and if you want to find out what your saboteur personality type is, then go check out positiveintelligence.com. And the guy is a TED speaker, accomplished author. He's legit. He's a scientist. He's not like, spiritual guru or anything. So it's all science based. So yeah. So it would present very logical arguments that, Avi, look, I mean, you got the mortgage and you got the kids to take care of. It's just irresponsible. I mean, come on, dude. I'm just, I'm man to man. I mean, it doesn't make sense. And I would be like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. And of course, the trap that we fall into is that thinking that that saboteur voice is us. It's not us. I mean, we're higher than that. We're a higher self. But yeah, so that 40%, that realization was there. But I guess even in my story, there's that counter example of that kid in Daily at 23. So we asked this question on Facebook, folks. So I asked, what is the right age? And a lot of people had some very good responses. Win Hopkins, who's a Microsoft MVP, he shared something interesting. And in his story, he mentioned going on like a backpacking trip when he was 23 and how that contributed to him. So I think Charles, you mentioned that too. You talked about kind of self-discovery, and actually, you were talking about that earlier. Where you sum of your experiences, and you talked about your childhood and moving around and all that stuff. And of course, our lives, kind of unfold, in a magical way, and each path is right. There's no right or wrong, but I think there's something there. So I think if you can accelerate that process of self discovery. And I guess for me, and boy, it's kind of a strange connection. I don't think I had quite gotten that yet. Was that losing my job at Washington Mutual put me on this path of self discovery? I mean, losing my identity and asking, who am I? So I think theoretically, it's obviously possible at any age, 20, 40, or 60. But I think these ingredients are crucial. So I'm feeling like the ingredient are kind of that personal road, the personal experience, and that comes from self discovery. Obviously, Charles talked about his life experiences. I talked about mine, and I shared Win Hopkins' story. So that set of personal experiences. The other factor that I suppose can help is professional experiences as well. Yeah, so that can help. And oh boy, I had the third factor in my head. Um, Maybe the third factor is kind of the trigger, because a lot of people have both of these things, but they never pull the trigger. Um, and
I think a big thing that I discovered about myself is, I think the video has something to do with it. Like you said, video is just one medium, but I think the thing behind the scenes that really made a difference for me was trust. I think when
mm,
I got a video and I, put myself out there, people, I attract the people that look at me and listen to my experience, and they're like, I can trust Charles. I think that's my last note is
yeah,
trust.
Charles now working as a coach. I've surrounded people who believe generally what I believe. And video can be a powerful medium, but explore kind of what's right for you. See what feels right for you. There's, anything else can kind of work as well. Blog, podcast. I'm a huge fan of podcasts, and one advantage of podcasts is that most people listen to podcasts with their headsets on. And if you think about it, with the headset on, it feels like the voice is inside your head. Imagine being inside of someone's head for 60 minutes or something, right? And you're talking to them. Man, that is awesome. Talk about building trust. Talk about building that connection of having them believe what you believe. Awesome, folks. So, hey, another shout for the 100,000 feet Learn Power BI scholarship, which is opening soon. Check it out. I think the page is up at learnpowerbi.com/scholarship, but we will send official announcements. Now, of course, this is a small beta to kickstart a big vision that we have for this this effort of kind of 100,000 feet. All right, folks. So we're gonna sign off on YouTube. We're gonna hang out a little bit on our Zoom call with Learn Power BI folks. So YouTube folks, thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Thank you all for all of the comments, and we'll catch you next Friday here on Talk Power BI. Until then, power on.